Hello everybody. So I'm back again to do another video. I'm not wearing arm covers. Ooh, I don't really care. I'm just trying not to gesture a lot. Anyway, this video will be titled "I Am Not a Muslim" because I've been watching a lot of videos lately about Islam, good and bad, and I tend to want to comment a lot because I do have a lot of opinions, and people say things on these videos that are just blatantly wrong. Either they don't properly understand Christianity, or they don't really understand Islam, or whatever. So, I'll kind of go on and I'll try to give, some sense of balance on the forums. And I find that because the picture of me, obviously, on this channel is me in a headscarf, very similar to this one. I think I'm wearing my gold and blue one anyway. Um, they viciously, I mean viciously, like attack me. They're like, oh, you're a white woman wearing a headscarf. You're indoctrinated. You're brainwashed. And I mean, they say the vilest shit to me, like if I was a Muslim, I'd be highly offended. But as a non-Muslim, I'm still highly offended because, well, I mean, the first thing about it is that wearing hijab does not mean you're Muslim. I know that Muslims primarily wear them. For them, it is a symbol of their faith, and I get that. I respect that. But the thing about it is that not everybody who wears a hijab is a Muslim. I mean, the reason I got interested in hijab in the first place was because there were videos about Christian women wearing hijab. And it's not as if wearing a scarf is anything new either. I mean, this has been around for millennia, probably. The Virgin Mary is always depicted in, some kind of head dress and, loose robes. Um, there are a lot of different religions, a lot of different sects of Christianity, of Judaism, that sort of thing, who cover their head. Sometimes they show hair, sometimes they don't. Most of the nuns, like obviously Catholic nuns, wear the habit, in traditional dress. Eastern Orthodox, I believe, they also fully cover their hair, possibly their neck. A lot of Jewish women cover their hair totally. Um, I can never remember the name of the time, but anyway. So this, this hair scarf, like this scarf on the head, it's nothing new. This has been around for a long, long, long time. And there is no reason why I should not wear a scarf on my head. There is no reason. These people make like this assumption that like not only am I Muslim, but I'm clearly one of the violent Muslims, and they basically use it to denounce every argument or any point that I make, any comment even that I make at all. They're kind of like, oh well, you're a white woman in a hijab. What are you doing? Basically talking about this, like, you know, some guy said to me earlier something about how, I hope you're not married to a Muslim man, and they're gonna, basically turn me into some kind of violent machine when, I mean, the truth of the matter is I'm not a violent person. I have never been a violent person. I abhor violence of all kinds. I don't like fighting. I don't like confrontation. I certainly don't like, physical fighting. Frankly, I'm a little bit scared of that. I've always been scared of guns. I'm a little bit scared of weapons in general. Like I just don't like anything to do with that. Like I could never be a police officer or anything. I'm a chicken, honestly. Like, and the other part is that I just don't like violence. Any other solution you can find to a problem, I would do that before I would resort to violence. Obviously, sometimes you have to use it in self-defense or whatever, and I'm not going to say you shouldn't do it because, if you're trying to preserve your own life because someone's going to take it, then you got to do whatever you've got to do to save yourself, obviously. But you know, I'm not a violent person. Like, and I realize even that a lot of Muslims who, there's a lot of stuff that goes around that there's not really a such thing as a moderate Muslim. Because if you believe in the Quran and you believe in Muhammad, you believe all the teachings, which includes things that he wrote after Medina, after they, when they did all the conquering and all the bloodshed and all the rest of it, where basically Muhammad endorses violence in the Quran. The problem that I see is that, like me, I mean, when I was first exploring Islam, all I saw was the good, the peaceful, the nice side of it, and I loved it. I still, honestly, I love that part of it. But I can't ignore the fact that, I mean, I can look up the verses for myself. I've been watching videos, like, he's called the Masked Arab. I guess I'll probably make a link below. Sorry, I'm listening. I'll probably make a link below to, so at least if you really want to watch them, you can get an idea. I realize my Muslim followers or watchers probably don't want to do this. But if you do, he would read and put on the screen the verses in the Quran, and he would cite what verse it was in what chapter, and point out all the various violent things. And I would look them up. I actually had my own Quran out, looking these up as I went along. Every single one of them that he said was true, and it was within context. It was like, and I mean, he had already people say, oh, you got to turn to an Islamic scholar, but like this guy knew the Quran inside and out. I think he's an Islamic scholar. Apparently the way that Islamic scholars are made Islamic scholars is because they know the Quran. There's really not much to being called an Islamic scholar. This is what I've heard. I don't know. Like it's not like in the Christian church, usually you'll have a degree in theology, whatever. And they don't always, but you can study the Quran and suddenly be like an expert of Islam. And if that's the criteria, then this masked Arab guy, like literally, he wears the ski mask with glasses, because the things that you say that are against Islam in any way, even somewhat including what I'm saying, in Sharia law, it's punishable by death. If you're an apostate or you openly say things that are against Islam or against against Quran, against Muhammad, whatever, or can be even possibly interpreted in that light, the punishment is death. And like, these people will hunt you down and they will kill you, because it's happened to so many apostates, I don't know how to say the word, but people who have left Islam, who were born into it. I mean, even if they move to America, people follow them across America and try to kill them because they have left Islam. And if you actually do a video about Islam and you kind of refute it, or you talk about it in a critical type way, you better watch out for yourself. But I decided that even if I'm going to do that in any kind of fashion, and I feel like I'm trying, at least to be moderate in this video. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong here, but if I ever do that, then to me, getting truth out, that's the kind of thing you should be willing to die for. If you really strongly, so much believe it, and people are going to kill you for telling the truth. I mean, there are Islamic martyrs, there are Christian martyrs, and I'm not saying it has to even be a religious thing. I mean, Martin Luther King was killed. What did he do? He wanted black people to have rights, which seems, like a non-thing today. I mean, depending on who you talk to, like, black people are supposed to have the same rights. But anyway, this is back in the 60s, when black people were still slaves, most of them, or there were colored and white water fountains and shit like that down in the South. He was killed. Why? Because he preached against something, or he spoke against something that the white majority wanted. And this kind of thing happens all the time, and I think that if somebody is going to kill me for telling the truth, it's a lot better reason than something else I could be killed for. Anyway, that's a little bit off topic. The reason one of the reasons I'm not Muslim is because I cannot reconcile the fact that the Quran, number one, it actually is full of contradictions. Because, in part of the book he'll say, you have to be peaceful, you have to be nice to everyone, you have to respect, the people of the book, Jewish people, Christian people. And in another part of it, he is, like killing people who even speak ill of him. He's saying kill all the people who are non-Muslims. You know, they went around literally and said convert or die. They let some people be Jewish or Christian if they paid some kind of tax. But I mean, now, today, like anything that is not Islam is basically against Sharia law. In Saudi Arabia, you are not allowed to have a church. You can't have a synagogue. Islam is the only religion allowed. And like, especially if you're a Muslim and you're found to not be Muslim, like you will be killed. When you're in Saudi Arabia, you're not allowed to visit Mecca or Medina if you are not a Muslim, and you have to be able to prove it, because depending on what you're planning to do, you might be killed for that too. And like this is the reality of Sharia law, and Sharia law is based on the Quran. I've done so much studying on this. Well, I mean, like I've watched a lot of videos, I've corroborated it with my own Quran, and the evidence is undeniable that. And actually, I watched a video today where somebody who was educated in Sharia law, admitted that the punishment for apostasy or whatever is death. If a Muslim leaves Islam, then Sharia law rules that he die or she die. And he said this quite openly on a video that was otherwise supposed to kind of portray sympathy for people who left Islam. And I mean, the truth of the matter is that people who believe this do proclaim it openly. I mean, I've seen protest signs from Britain. It's like, Islams will take over, and signs about how we're gonna even kill people, signs like that. And I'm just like, how can I possibly join a religion which says it preaches peace, and then Muhammad goes into Medina, like kills a lot of people, instigates all these punishments, makes them law in the Quran, and in the Hadiths it's taken even further because they quote what he said. And this is the basis of the religion. It's the basis of Sharia law. The Quran is supposed to be a perfect holy book. This is what a Muslim believes. The Quran is perfect. There are no flaws, and you must follow the Quran to the letter. It's a very literalist interpretation when the Quran is involved. And like, I cannot condone violence. I'm sorry, I can't do it, and I won't do it. People have a right to be the faith that they want to be. And, you might think that Islam is right, and you might not agree with somebody having a different faith, but that doesn't mean you should kill them. It doesn't mean you should stone them to death. It doesn't mean you should behead them or hang them from a cross and then shoot them in the back of the head with a black bag over their whole face. Like, I learned about the crimes in Saudi Arabia they do, which are considered legal punishments, and I just couldn't believe it. I mean, I had no idea this side of Islam existed when I was thinking about converting, and then sort of converted for a short time, and then was totally not Muslim after I found all of this out. Like, I honestly, like, for you peaceful kind of Muslims out there, how do you reconcile the violence in the Quran with the peaceful parts? Because, I mean, to me it seems like not only contradictory, but also very cruel, very, very wrong. I mean, I know in Islam, it's not an individual's life that is valued. It is like the survival of Islam, basically, that is valued. An individual's life, if it threatens Islam, is dispensable. And there's this book called Heretic. Ayaan Hirsi Ali, I remembered it this time. She wrote it. She has to have guards on her 24 hours a day, every day, because she has spoken out so dramatically against Islam that, like, there are a ton of Muslims who want to kill her. Like, and she lives in America. You'd think this is a country that would be free from that kind of killing. Nope. It's, I just watched the video of somebody who left Islam, and she managed to escape Egypt, and she too came to America. But she said, it's not obviously a legal law, but this is the law of the street. A Muslim will kill you for leaving Islam. And, Ayaan also left Islam, and she speaks very strongly. Her words are very direct and very powerful. And she explains this stuff about Islam, about how, the Medina Muslims, as she calls them, the ones who follow the teachings about the parts where Muhammad went into Medina, conquered them, did all of these things that are part of Sharia law. But anyway, like these people, they don't tolerate a person leaving Islam, and they're trying to kill her every day. So she's had to be protected for years. And this is the kind of thing that happens if you leave Islam. And so, the reason I make a video saying I am not a Muslim is because these people are associating me with that kind of Medina Muslim, the ones who want to be violent, the ones who participate in it, or the ones who condone violence, who think it's a good thing. And that is absolutely not who I am. I wear a scarf because I like to wear the scarf. I wear it because it makes me feel safer, more protected. It makes me, feel like people can't judge me based on my physical appearance nearly as much. And, I just want to wear it. And I don't see the problem with that. I mean, I respect a peaceful Islam. And even Ayan said, she said it was too late for her, but she said, there could be room for an Islamic reformation, which is similar to what happened to both Judaism and Christianity, including Catholicism, which, up until probably the mid-1900s or so, was very anti-Semitic. It was very, uncompromising. And apparently there's a sect of so-called Catholics who don't even recognize any popes that were after, John Paul II and forward. They don't recognize those people as popes at all. And this is a fundamental belief in the Catholic Church. You have a pope and you believe in the pope. So they're not really Catholics. But anyway, so the church went under a reformation. They're not blaming the whole of Jewish people anymore for killing Jesus. They're extending the hand of friendship to Jewish people, also to Islamic people, which I don't know if it's a dangerous thing or not. I think it gives the Medina Muslims a way in that they maybe didn't have before. But the Mecca Muslims, the more peaceful ones, the ones who follow the teachings back then, the kind of Islam that I liked, that was the Mecca Muslim, Mecca Islam, whatever. Those people obviously should be welcomed. Those are the people who have kind of they're almost doing the reform already. Although it's not technically following the Quran, because if you technically follow the Quran, you will be a Medina Muslim. And people come to realize this, and that's what I came to realize, and then that was when I realized I was not a Muslim. I could never be, because for me to believe in the Quran in its entirety would mean for me to believe that all people who are not Muslims should be killed, anyone who leaves Islam should be killed. I don't believe this stuff. I can't do it. It's not... My conscience would never let me go if I ever did that to anybody. If I murdered a person, I would probably actually go insane. I couldn't live with myself at all. I would probably end up dead by my own hand because I would never forgive myself. And it makes me, I know there's a difference in the West now about, conscience and about, the importance of an individual life, which is, again, something that the Medina Muslims, don't really consider important at all. You just have to have enough numbers to keep going and to keep growing your numbers and to conquer. Because what they want is for the whole world to be Islamic, and they're willing to do anything it takes to get there. I mean, any kind of violence. I mean, because the Quran says, whatever you have to do it. In order, kill the apostates. That's how my friend said it. I'm just going to say it that way. Kill the apostates, kill the ones who left Islam, kill everybody who isn't Muslim if they don't want to convert. And literally their plan is to basically take over the world, make everything Sharia law, and then live the way people live in Saudi Arabia everywhere. And I cannot condone that as a person of conscience and, as someone who believes in freedom, because you don't get freedom under Sharia law. and you can be killed for, like, for example, if a woman is raped in Saudi Arabia, she needs 4 male witnesses to vouch for her, otherwise she will be killed because either she had sex out of wedlock or she committed adultery because she can't prove she was raped. Now, how ridiculous is that? 4 male witnesses. Like, how many rapes actually have 4 male witnesses? I mean, really. At least here, you know, you can get a rape kit done. You can, if you have that, you can testify. Like, and I know the law here is certainly not perfect by any means, but you don't need the testament of 4 males because, you know, it would take the testimony of like 8 females to equal that under Sharia law, because the word of 1 man is the word of 2 women. Which, I mean, it's complete inequality between the sexes, but this is kind of getting off the point a little, and this video is getting really long. So, yeah, I mean, I just wanted to address that, because just because I wear the scarf and I want to wear modest clothing because I like it, and I have my own secular kind of reasons for doing it, doesn't make me a Muslim. And I definitely don't agree with this Medina Islam, and I felt that if I was a Muslim, I have to take the whole book seriously, not just parts of it, not just pick out the little things that I like that are good and throw away the rest of the book. That's not even how religion works. That's not how Catholicism or Christianity works. It's not how Judaism works. You have to take the whole work and actually live by it and study it and understand it, or else you're really not a true adherent to the religion. And, you know, the problem with a lot of people in Islam is they just don't interpret. They just take everything completely literally, and they don't consider the context of the day that it was written. I mean, it was written in the 600s, 700s. Like, that was a long time ago. That was 1400 years ago, minimum. Like, 1400 years is a long time for society and for people to change. 2000 years is about when, you know, around the time, well, that was when Jesus died, so the book was put together within 100 years after that, I think. And so it's been like 1900 years. Like, of course people are going to grow. We are capable as a species of growing as a people, you know, of being enlightened. And, you know, one could argue that this is part of God's plan because God makes everything. You could say that Allah makes everything. And so maybe, you know, instead of, you know, going on YouTube and telling people that they should be questioning their own questions, maybe you should actually give them an answer. Maybe you should realize that the answer is the one that they don't want to hear, and the answer is the one that's going to make them leave Islam because they can't take the whole book. And it's take the whole book or take nothing in Islam. And yeah, I'm running short on time. I have been for several minutes, so that's all I'm going to say. And, like, you know, I'm gonna make one final point, is that the term Islamophobia, I watched a video, it doesn't count if people are using Islam to kill you, to want to kill you, to want to commit terrible crimes against you because you're not Islamic and they want the whole world to be Islamic. Like, I'm sorry, but Islamophobia and Medina Muslims, it doesn't even fit. Like, to blame Mecca Muslims for what Medina Muslims do is not right. I agree with this. But to just say, oh, you know, those are extremists, it has nothing to do with the real religion. Actually, no, it really does. They are interpreting the Quran directly. It is direct from the Quran to commit this violence, to kill the apostates. All of this comes from their holy book. You cannot separate it from other Islam because it's all Islam. Like, you just can't do that. Anyway, you know, if you have any comments, questions, whatever, feel free to leave them. If there's some kind of questions you'd like me to answer in a video, feel free to leave that, because, you know, I do requests. I like to do requests. It means somebody actually wants to watch my video. So anyway, cheers to all of you, and I hope you have a good day.